Iranian delegation is expected to arrive later on today in Islamabad in Pakistan. This ahead of crucial talks with the United States that are being mediated by Pakistan. The American delegation there is to be represented by the Vice President JD Vance. So let's get the view then from Washington. Fraser Jackson is with us live from there now. Fraser, we will come to JD Vance in just a moment. But first of all, given that we're talking about Lebanon on the programme, let's talk about Lebanon first of all. How long do you think Donald Trump, the United States, is willing to let Israel continue to strike Lebanon in the way that it did yesterday?
I think the timeline really is unknown at this moment, and that really is because Donald Trump clearly is seeing this conflict between Hezbollah and Israel as a separate conflict to the war in Iran. Of course, Hezbollah, a proxy group of the Iranian regime, but in his mind, he clearly is divvying this up in what he called a separate skirmish. So at the moment, I don't think there's a real time frame that the US administration has as to how long they will kind of allow Israel to keep going down this path before they ultimately try to rein them in. But of course, Donald Trump is somebody who listens to headlines and watches and consumes a lot of media. And the strikes that we saw just 24 hours ago, the deadliest day for Lebanon since this war began around 2 months ago or so now, I think if those kind of headlines continue, Donald Trump will be urged to tell the Israelis to rein themselves in and to stop these kind of these strikes, which are killing hundreds and dozens of people per day. So at the moment, there is no fixed timeline that the US is working towards. But I think, of course, like many things, that could be swayed if public opinion and negative media starts building against this.
All right, Fraser. Well, let's talk then about these negotiations in Pakistan, which we believe will begin tomorrow. It is JD Vance who'll be representing the Americans there. What do you make of the fact that Donald Trump has sent him?
I think what's interesting is the fact that we were told that JD Vance might not be going for security concerns, and then at the podium at the press briefing, Caroline Levitt 24 hours ago saying that he will be going and he will be leading this delegation. I think this really shows how much kind of goodwill has been lost between the US and the Iranians, because normally it would be Steve Witkoff, the special envoy that, of course, was one of Donald Trump's property developer friends in New York, and Jared Kushner, his son-in-law. They've been leading negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians, as well as Russia and Ukraine. And they were also the people who were leading these negotiations with Iran before this war broke out. But goodwill with the Iranians and the Steve Witkoff and Kushner is at an all-time low. And that is because the Iranians believe that they were not operating in good faith because they were at these negotiations before the war broke out, and then the war broke out regardless. So they see JD Vance as somebody who is more of a mediating force, somebody who has been, as the New York Times reported, the lone voice of the administration who has been trying to push back against these strikes in Iran, mainly for fear of how it will go down with Donald Trump's base, what the impact on regional security will be. But also, of course, JD Vance is somebody who's got one eye on the next election, and keeping a distance from what could become a very unpopular war could hold in his favor when he comes to the 2028 presidential race. So this is, of course, something that JD Vance has been keeping an eye on. But of course, he does have his own future and political future also in mind as he heads into these talks in Islamabad on Saturday morning.
All right, Fraser Jackson for us there live in Washington, D.C. Thank you very much.